Hello and welcome back to Lois and Morgana Davidson Art. It's Lois here, and today I'm going to be demonstrating this beautiful French sunrise scene. It's a Normandy beach and it's a shortened version of an in-depth two-part tutorial that I've just posted for my Patreon group. So if you're interested in that, then please follow the link below. I've painted this wet in wet using Winsor Red, Winsor Blue and Winsor Yellow with some neutral tint and a little bit of Payne's Grey at the end. I'm using Milford cold pressed watercolour paper. It's taped to my board and my board's at an angle of about 20 degrees. I'm going to paint wet in wet, so I'll wet the sky all over with clean water and a large wash brush. I will then make up a desaturated mix of Winsor Blue with some neutral tint and paint that across the top of the sky. And then I'll be able to introduce my Winsor Red and Winsor Yellow across the horizon line and then mix those colours in order to create the land mass to start with. Now that my graduated sunrise wash is in place, I've laid my board flat so that the colours will stay where they are and just softly diffuse as they dry. But before it dries, I want to get in the basis for my silhouetted trees. So this is a mixture of Winsor Blue, Winsor Red and neutral tint. And it's a drier, richer mix of paint so that I don't cause cauliflower runbacks in my sky wash. As I'm still working wet in wet, this richer paint will still gently soften and diffuse around the edges, and then I shall bring it together with some crisper wet on dry detail. And just before it dries, with a clean damp flat brush, I'm going to just lift out some highlights where the light is hitting the water and hitting the beach between the trees. Washing my brush out between each pass to make sure that I get a nice clean lift. Now it's time to leave this wash to dry completely. So here's the dried painting. It's a little bit more intensely coloured than it shows here because the light is bleaching things out a bit in my studio. I've lifted the board back up to 20 degrees again, and I'm going to begin to work into the painting wet on dry. This will give me crisper, harder edges and help me to bring out the tonal values and the details that will bring the painting together, such as the distant headland, some nearer rocks, more details on the trees and on the sort of layers of groups of trees over on the right, so that we can distinguish between them. So that's the main bulk of the silhouette done, and hopefully you can see how I've managed to distinguish between the different groups of trees. The next thing to do is to use some bold sweeping brush strokes and glaze over the foreground with neutral tint mixed with Winsor Blue and Winsor Red, and just create some sort of shadows and some darker sort of dawn light across the foreground, which kind of gives some sort of hints of maybe little bits of misty detail that are sort of lost in the morning mist. And then finally, just darkening up these central trees with some Payne's grey, just in a few places, just to get some real deep darks in, which should just dry and blend in with the rest of the colours. So here's the finished painting. I'll remove the tape and see how it looks with its clean white border. And then I'll show you a photograph where the colours are a little bit closer to what they are in real life, but it was quite a difficult one to photograph. So here is what it looks like in real life. And I hope you can see that the careful graduated wash that we built up quite slowly is very effective to give us this dawn light. And the silhouetted trees are differentiated nicely with the lifted areas of where we lifted out the light behind the trees, and that helps to add depth and distance to this beautiful scene. So I hope you found that helpful, and if you're interested in the in-depth two-part tutorial plus all the line work and the reference photograph information, then please follow the link to my Patreon below. Many thanks for watching. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And thank you so much to everyone that supports us on Patreon. You really make a difference and help us to run this channel. I'll see you again soon. Take care and happy painting. Bye.